Welcome to the Better Than Yesterday Everyday Podcast, where we cover anything related to behavior change that will increase your long-term wellness and happiness. And now, here are your hosts, personal trainer and RNs, Matt and Jenna Lane.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Better Than Yesterday Everyday Podcast.
Every day.
My name is Matt.
And my name's Jenna.
And we're both registered nurses. I'm a personal trainer. And this podcast is all about implementing behavior change for your long-term wellness and happiness. And today, I have absolutely no clue what we're talking about.
Surprise!
Jenna came to me and said, let's record a podcast. And I have no idea what we're about to talk about.
Oh, okay.
So what are we about to talk about?
I've been really pissy the last 2 days.
Okay.
And I think that we need to talk about it.
Okay.
Because I think everybody else can probably relate to that on some level.
Okay. Well, do we hit them with our gratitude point?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. At the top of every show, we hit you with our gratitude point. Gratitude point is something that can be major or something really minor.
Or something absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm going to talk about for my gratitude point.
Okay. And
you Matthew Lane.
Okay.
So I've been pissy and emotional the last 2 days, and I was just in the bathroom doing my hair, and Matt Lane comes in the bathroom with a Sharpie marker and writes on my mirror, "I am beautiful. Say this to yourself." And then walks out with a Sharpie marker, not a dry erase marker. And I just want to say thank you.
Oh, okay. That's not where I thought that was going.
I probably won't be saying thank you the next time I need to clean my mirror. I guess I'll just never be able to clean my mirror again. I don't know.
Just don't clean it. It's fine.
But thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you that you are open to change. You're willing to change. Mm-hmm. You had a point where you weren't willing to change.
Yeah.
You know, you're simple, gravitating to be able to do this podcast, wanting to do this podcast and capture these moments that I think you're feeling as I'm staring at you. Like, thank you. It's huge. So what are we talking about?
I don't know. I probably can attribute some of this to like hormones, maybe. I don't know. But what happened yesterday that I was so pissy about? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We were talking about tracking calories. I know that that's a sore subject of mine because I don't like to do that.
And I'm a big fan of MyFitnessPal. It's a free calorie counting app.
Yeah. But today especially, I did a workout in our living room today because Matt was on a phone call. And I was like, I'm going to post a picture of myself working out. And I took, what do you think, probably 20 pictures in front of my little $5 Walmart mirror that I use to make sure I'm doing my squats right.
Sure.
And I hated every single picture. I hated every single one of them. And I don't think that I'm alone.
You're not. I mean, you're staring at somebody that doesn't love their photos.
Yeah. And I know that that's been a conversation of ours recently that, you struggle too.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's important to record, to put out there that we all struggle.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, on a daily basis, I've told you guys before that I feel like I struggle with the opposite, but it's still relatable. It's still a pain point of mine that I'm never big enough. I'm never lean enough. I never look the way I think I should look or want to look. And that's just as toxic as thinking, I haven't lost the amount of weight that I want. I don't, whatever that is, it's the same thing. It's just the opposite direction.
Yeah. And, I've been working really hard, especially the last couple of months. But this has been a process over several years of transformation and change, not just with my physical appearance, but my mental state as well. And it's been a big transformation, and it's something that's needed to take the time that it's taken to really stick. And I think that's important to really relay to those of you listening or watching that, I think that's why New Year's resolutions don't stick.
Yeah.
Because it's this giant change all of a sudden. And we're all human. We're all stuck in our ways. We all have developed whatever kind of daily routine we have because it's most convenient or easy or what we would prefer. So doing a total lifestyle overhaul doesn't usually stick.
Yeah.
And some days I look back and say, I should have changed faster, or I should have realized this sooner. Or when I look in the mirror, see the years that I didn't care or didn't realize what I was doing to my body, the long-term effects of being so sedentary and overweight for so long that you can't go back and erase those years no matter how much you work. And sometimes that gets really frustrating and really can really just mess your mind up. I think it's important we relay this put together front. I think a lot, Matt and I do, and that's not always the case.
No, it's most of the time not the case. Jenna made the point, and then someone else that I'm close with made the point that, man, you've got it all together. Like, that's the way it looks. And guys, it could not be any further than the truth. I truly hope that you know that I am documenting the learning process. I am reporting what I've learned has worked for me. I'm reporting that I've worked with clients and I've seen what's working for them. I am forever a student of fitness, of wellness, and Jenna is the same way. If your mental fitness is not right, it doesn't matter what you do in any other realm of fitness and wellness. So when we talk about implementing behavior change for your long-term wellness and happiness, the byproduct is the physical appearance. That's the byproduct. That needs to come last. But it's difficult because in our society, the physical appearance is the first thing.
Yeah. Well, and it's what you can see with your eyeballs.
Without a doubt. I mean...
there isn't a scale to judge your mental health.
No.
You can't step on the scale and be like, hey, I've lost 18 pounds of depression.
That's a really good way to put that.
You can't physically see it. You can quantify your weight. You can quantify how many inches around your biceps are or whatever you're measuring, but you can't with mental health. And I think that's what makes it so difficult to keep track of and to really realize how far you've come or how far you've regressed.
Yeah. We are our own worst enemy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have days where I have no confidence in so many aspects of my life, of fitness, of wellness, of running a business, of are my videos good enough? Are these podcasts good enough? Do I practice what I preach? And Jenna's right. Like the last thing we want to do is act like we have it all together. And because I know the people that I follow, when I see the humanity in them and know that they're a real person, that's what makes me love them even more. And that's why I say, like, I never want to put that off. So please don't get it twisted. We're as real as you, and we're simply human beings.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
We're probably just as flawed, if not
oh my Lord,
more
yeah.
so.
Yeah, absolutely. But why do you think it was the photos that was the trigger point of this?
No.
Was it were there things leading up?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
I think something that's very personal kind of set me off the other day. There's someone who every time I see this person who has known you and I for the entirety of our relationship asks in the most, at least in my perception, in the most condescending way, when you're all going to have kids. And to that person, if you're listening, that sets me in a tailspin constantly. It's more maddening than anything. I think I've revealed more personally to her so that she'll stop asking than I care to. And the immediate response back is, you can still have kids. Like, that's the most important thing. And I agree, having children is a great responsibility and a great privilege given to many. But that's not my story.
What behind it irks you so much?
I don't know, it just really frustrates me. I think, and I knew this was going to always be a frustration of mine or something in the back of my head.
Babe, don't worry about continuing the show right now, okay? It's okay. Breathe. Where do you want to go with it? So we had to take a little break, get some of that out. I could hear it in your voice the whole time.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start back at?
I think, so I guess a little backstory. My uterus tried to kill me last year. And so I had a surgical procedure to get it in check. Mm-hmm. And I knew in the back of my head, even though I knew it was necessary and it was important, that I would probably struggle with the fact that for the general public, my body could no longer do the things that women are supposed to do. I could no longer reproduce. And I've really struggled with that a lot more than I thought I would. And that's a real mind bender, to do something that is to not be dramatic, but really is life-saving and life-changing. But knowing that you will likely be perceived as less than a woman, because you can't do that anymore. At least that's my perception or my perspective. Like, I don't know that anyone has heard why I did what I did or the reasons behind it and thought, well, she sucks as a woman now. But in my head, I feel that way about myself, mm-hmm. somewhat. And it's really been difficult to work through emotionally. That's really it.
So to give you guys some backstory, I've never wanted kids. Just never been an interest of mine. And since when Jenna and I started dating, I made that very clear from the beginning and was very open to, look, if that's something that you need, then that's something, I don't want to hold you up from that, but that's not what I want. I just know that. I've known that forever. Are you regretting
No.
Not having kids?
Not at all. It's just one of those things where there's a physical limitation that I have now. Mm-hmm. Physically I'm limited as a woman to do that, even though, this is getting very personal, but I've had lady issues since I was in my early teens. And so I've been of the mindset for most of my teenage years and all of my adult life that likely this was not something that I would be able to do. And my difference in my philosophy versus Matt's was that I feel very strongly that this is something that's never going to happen. But if it would, I would just roll with it as an unexpected blessing that apparently is supposed to be my path, even though, knowing for most of my life that that's likely not the path that is going to be laid out for me. So even though we kind of differed with our views, I feel like they've been pretty well on track the whole time we've been together.
Yeah.
So that kind of took a left turn with that conversation. But I think that's kind of what started my little tailspin, is that happened Sunday or Monday. I saw that person and they asked that question that they've asked 100 times, even though I've been very open and honest with them, hoping that they would please, for the love of God, stop asking me that question every time they see me. And it didn't work. And then, just looking at myself in the mirror and not loving what I see, because I see more than what you see, Matt, or what you see, the viewer. I see my insecurities too. And those aren't on the outside. Those are on the inside, but I can see them when I look at me in the mirror. And sometimes it's very defeating and very discouraging. And it's also very frustrating. And it can really make you hate yourself. Like, you hate what you see because you see the inside parts, not just what's on the outside. Sometimes I really struggle with that. And I feel like if I struggle with that, probably many other people do too.
Of course.
And I don't have a fix for it either, other than to just push through and practice positive self-talk. And, if journaling is your thing, journal. That way you can look back and see. It's important to see your low points too in your journaling.
Yeah.
Not just your high points.
Yeah. I think it's more important.
Yeah. But there's pathways for everybody to help deal with your bad days. And I think it's really important to learn those pathways of what works for you, what's important to you, and how you can pull yourself out of that mud of, self-loathing and self-hatred to really push forward. I think that's the pinnacle point. That's the change point to really start moving the needle in the right direction, is when you are at your lowest, to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and keep going.
I'm not telling you that you have to or whatever, but at what point do you put up some sort of defense for this? At what point do you verbalize to this person that they need to stop?
I have.
At what point will you allow me to go to this damn person?
Honestly,
have you truly expounded and said, listen, you are really affecting me when you say this, and I really need you to stop? I think being unbelievably direct.
Yeah.
Because I know you, and I doubt that's how you did it. I would say, listen, you need to stop, and put a little bit of stern in it.
Yeah. Well, and I think maybe even more than that, and I think you're going to disagree with this, Matt, but I need to learn how to stop that tailspin, because it's not just that person.
Correct.
That's going to be forever a question, because that's a normal question.
Right.
But I think, just an added side note, sometimes that's a really personal question when you ask.
It is.
And if you don't know that person to know their why, probably asking why is inappropriate.
Yeah. And yeah, I believe it's probably very innocent, without a doubt. It's an innocent question. But
yeah, I know this person isn't trying to be vindictive, and that's why like I almost feel guilty being so frustrated about it. But
absolutely not.
I honestly, I'm more frustrated with myself than I am with this person, because I allow it to just totally run wild sometimes. Most of the time when I see this person, it's very innocent. I move on. Doesn't even affect me. But for whatever reason, I saw this person the other day and it just totally sent me in a tailspin.
This isn't the first time you've mentioned it to me, though, and you are correct that there's a lot of self-responsibility here. Yes, but there is a time and a place where you tell somebody to shut the hell up and say it respectfully, say it whatever way you want. But that is a part of mental fitness.
Yeah,
the ability to tell someone to stop.
Yeah, that's true. And I have trouble with that.
And I know you do. So I'm telling you that I feel as your husband that you need to make a respectful but stern stand to this person and say, you have got to stop.
Yeah.
And if not, if they continue, you let me know. I'll make sure they stop.
Okay.
I guarantee you.
No, please stay out of it.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what I could sit down and say are my most effective ways to get my mind out of this gutter. But I did a really challenging workout today, to the point where my lungs were screaming because I was so short of breath. That helped. I think emotionally I was down so low that workout at least brought me up to like the land of the living and the emotions, and then I just need to keep ascending higher than that.
I've felt the low on you for the past 2 days specifically. I've felt it on you.
Yeah, I've just not been in a good place.
Here's the thing. What you basically just said is you don't know what the fix is. You don't know like how to get yourself out of it. But I think it's extremely important for you. The biggest lesson here is that you've learned it. You've realized it. You've taken note of it. So now you can try to begin to find the answers. I feel like what we do when we do these podcasts and videos is that we try to give you something and say, this is how we've found that we have fixed it. Well, sometimes we don't always have the answers, but at least right now what we're doing is we're showing them, just try to realize it. Try to figure out what the root of it is, and then just go from there.
That's step one, is really understanding your own emotions and digging down to figure out why, so that you can really prepare yourself emotionally for when it happens again. Because most often it's not just a one-off and then it's never going to happen again. We all have our trigger points of this is what sets me into a tailspin. So you got to coach yourself through it. You got to prepare ahead of time. That way you've got your safeties, to enact and do to keep yourself from going so far to the right that you can't even understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I will say, several years ago, if this would have happened, I would be on the couch.
You would be shut down.
Eating my feelings.
Yep.
And not moving, with the blinds closed, the whole house dark, and just staring at the TV for the next 2 days.
I agree with you.
So I feel like, I can sort it through in my mind that I've come a long way as far as just sucking it up and pushing through it, because that's the only way to get to the other side, is to push through.
You're right.
And if you leave yourself stuck in it, you're going to get more stuck the longer you stay there.
Well, and here's the deal. Realizing that you're there and just trying to work on getting out of it. Because I've been in a place I know before, and I know some of my family has been in a place before where they just wallow in it.
Yeah.
They're just in it. There's no intention to figure out why they're in it or what is one step that I can do to get out of it. So, I think you're already working through it without you realizing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the thing is, I'm allowing myself to feel it. And a couple of years ago, that's not the case.
You tried to block it. You tried to numb it.
I would have just pushed it down.
Yep.
And piled a whole lot of food and Netflix on top of it.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's not how you get through something.
Mm-mm.
You just brush it under the rug. And sometimes you just need to let yourself feel it.
Yeah.
Like, just let it out. Good grief. Just let it out and work through it. Otherwise, you're just going to push it down farther and farther. And I know we watched Bill Burr's new special last night, and he talked about bottling up and putting it on the shelf.
Just push it down.
And he's like, I never know when that's going to come out and hurt a loved one in the future.
Bill Burr, we love him. He's a comedian. He's on Netflix. He just came out with a new special. We've seen him live a handful of times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Love him.
And I know that it was a comedy special, but something that I really appreciate about Bill Burr, no matter how hot button some of his issues are, and sometimes I'm just like, I can't watch it. It's just so bad. Is that he does it on purpose. Like, he hits those
Of course he does.
hot button topics on purpose, because it makes you think, even though he's spinning it in a comedic fashion. And that actually really hit home with me last night. Like, I don't want to just bottle it up and put it on a shelf to, take it down and throw it at Matt at some point. Because that's what would happen. In a couple of weeks, I would just be totally irrational about something totally fine. And you would ask me, where did that come from? And at that point, I would have completely forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I couldn't answer that. So I'm trying to feel it in the moment and try to really work it through. Like, standing in front of the mirror earlier, taking all those pictures. Like, why is it that I don't like that picture?
Yeah, good question.
Why is it that I'm so frustrated with what I see, and what am I doing about it? Is really the next important question, is what am I doing? Because if I'm not doing something about it, me standing in front of the mirror hating what I see is completely pointless.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's a perfect question to ask. I mean, good job on asking the question.
Yeah. I mean, why stand in front of the mirror? I mean, take all the mirrors down if you're not going to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important first two steps, is to look in the mirror and figure out what you dislike, ask yourself why, and then what are you doing about it?
Yep. You nailed it.
Yeah. And that almost could be just the two steps you need to do.
Yeah.
Now there's probably 18,000 steps in between there.
Yeah.
But I think that's really the catalyst for change.
Yeah.
If you're not liking what you see.
That's the start. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, by all means, this is your podcast episode. So you tell me when we stop. You tell me if you have more.
I mean, I think that's it.
I think so too.
I really just wanted to get it off my chest. I needed to get it off my
yeah,
chest. You did. This is a very personal topic.
I'm very surprised that you shared this.
And me too.
Yeah, seriously.
And I think, normally we would have talked this through sitting on the couch, and no one would ever be the wiser of this conversation.
Yeah.
When it comes to my emotions, I'm a very private person.
You are.
I don't like to share my emotions. I think partially because of my anxiety. I know we've talked about that previously, that I have this bar set so high that, I can't show people my weaknesses because I'm less perfect. Even though I know I'm very far from perfection.
And like, you don't want to portray that. That's not truly what you want to portray.
Right.
But it is at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my other concern with sitting down and recording this is that I really don't want to have this conversation with people again.
All right, well, that's a good reason too.
But I think it's important, and Matt, you and I have had this conversation recently, to really show our humanity. Yeah. To really show our flaws, because we're so far from perfect.
1,000%.
And, we might have, 10 or 15 minutes a week that are edited into this, great video. But that's not totally real life. Like, we're just as happy in real life as we are in those videos, but that took preparation and editing, and that's not the whole story.
No, it's not. And let me explain to you guys why. Let me explain to you why you see the videos that you see and some of the content that may seem like it's perfect. So it's not, like I've said before. The reason that it is the way it is, if you've ever noticed, I make these things called jump cuts, meaning there's not much like pausing in between shots of like, Jenna's on camera and then you see me immediately. There's not much pause in between. The reason is because I don't want to waste your time. I want to deliver as much value in the shortest amount of time because I understand your attention span, because I understand my attention span in today's world. So I just want to get this content out as quickly and as efficiently and as pretty as I can, so you'll watch. So hopefully I can make an impact. It's truly not to make us look perfect, because that is not the case. And I think we've said that a billion times. So I hope you understand.
Well, and I think that the other important piece here too is that I've kind of taken over content the last couple of months for both the podcast and our videos.
With the idea is 1,000%.
And it's not, what are these people that are watching our content, what do they struggle with?
Right.
And I'll tell them the perfection that I have. No, it's literally what I struggle with.
Yeah.
Is how I come up with all these ideas.
Yeah. But we put them out because we know someone out there struggling with it.
Yeah, we can't be the only ones that are struggling with that. I mean, everybody is unique, but we all have similar struggles.
Right.
And I mean, today we're about to go do a video going to Starbucks.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of no sugar for 70 days. And I've really struggled the last couple of days, and I am almost dreading going and getting something that smells so wonderful at Starbucks.
We'll go through the drive-thru. It's all good.
For the video, and then not being able to have it. But we're real. We're real people. We struggle with the same things. We've come a long way with a lot of self-education.
Yep.
And I hope that that's why you're here today too, is just feeding your mind, even if it's coming from two imperfect people.
Good job.
Thanks.
I love you.
I love you too.
Guys, you don't have to be perfect at this showing your raw emotions thing.
Crying like a little baby.
Just try to be better than yesterday.
Every day.
This has been the Better Than Yesterday Everyday Podcast. We want to thank you for listening and invite you to subscribe to the show as well. And follow MattLaneFitness on YouTube. Until next time, you don't have to be perfect. Just be better than yesterday every day.